Okay, so I'm going to do a series for my buyers right now. Things that I wish that you knew as a first-time buyer. So the first thing I really want you guys to be aware of is the cost to purchase a home. Because we're always talking about, your mortgage, your down payment, any down payment assistance programs. But we don't talk about all the other costs associated with a purchase of a home. So I'm here to explain it to you. And I'm not here to try to overwhelm you to the point where you're like, well, I'm never affording a house. Okay, there are ways that you can navigate through and figure out, seller concessions and, again, down payment assistance programs and other things that help with closing costs. There's different loan programs, like in Amador County specifically, we have the USDA loan that you can approve for the entire county. Okay, because the USDA loan, the biggest thing is dealing with what locations can you actually buy in. Okay, and there are caps and things you have to be aware of. So it's important to work with a lender that is specialized with USDA loans, and there's not many. So once you find one, and you can find one that's actually really good, this is why I'm always finding and vetting lenders for my buyers, because there are so many millions of questions that you can ask a lender to see if they're actually worth working with and if they actually know what they're talking about. And I used to work in the banking world. I know the questions to ask. I know how to vet people to understand truly, are they actually talking the talk, or they actually walk the walk? Like, they actually know what they're talking about and they actually have had the track record. So that is one thing I do. It's kind of a sidebar for my buyers. But, and this is also, I don't force you into working with a lender. You work with whoever you want. I just know lenders enough. Again, worked in the banking industry, but you don't have to take my advice. You can take whatever lender you want to work with. That's fine with me, but I'm here to help you. So whatever I can do to help you find a lender, help you find the house, of course, help you. Okay. So let's get into the actual nitty gritty costs. So of course, down payment and the mortgage itself. And the third thing you got to think of, the earnest money deposit. This is also called your EMD. You'll hear that a lot. That's basically your money that you're putting down on the house initially, and it comes from your total down payment. So if you put 5% down on your loan or your EMD of your 20% down payment, you only have to bring 15% to the table at closing. So see how that works. But let's say in our area, it's anywhere from like 1 to 3% of the offer price that you're going to put as the earnest money deposit. And again, that comes from your total down payment that you're going to pay. So you're not having to pay that on top of your down payment. So that's the first thing you have to be aware of. And that is due by default in California, the residential purchase agreement. It's usually within 5 days of the offer being accepted that it must go to the title company, and they hold it there until closing. But that is required the first week that you go under contract. And the second thing you got to be aware of, once we go under contract, whether it's your seller accepts your contract as is, or if they do a counter offer and you accept that counter offer, that is the date that we're at as of acceptance of the contract. Okay, so that first week or 2 weeks, we will be doing one of the contingencies that we have is the investigation of property. And unless you've waived this is the point where we will talk through your home inspection, pest inspection, all the inspections that you're going to want to have on this property to make sure it's a sound investment. And the cost for that, depending on the size of the home, usually is about $250, $300, might be more, might be less, for each inspection. Okay. And this is one thing to really be aware of, is if, let's say you do find something that you are that's a deal breaker. Nope, we're not buying this house. You will get your earnest money deposit back as long as you have that contingency period and it hasn't lapsed yet. However, you got to remember that inspector has done their job. They have given you their report. They have finished their transaction already for you. You are not getting that money back. Okay, so you could be in a situation where you get the home inspection, the pest inspection, the roof inspection, the electrician comes out, all these inspections, then you finally find something that is a deal breaker. You're out all of those inspection costs. And then you're going to go to your next home and do the same thing all over again. So this is one of the reasons, of course, you want to make sure that you make a sound investment and that you're comfortable. But also remember that these inspections cost money, okay? So you don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where you're doing, like, going overboard on inspections. You walk away from the house and then you just dropped $1,000, $1,500 on this house in inspections, and now you can't afford to go buy another house and do that all over again. So just don't put yourself in those situations, okay? But again, also make a sound investment. So I always advise pest inspection, home inspection. From there, you can kind of determine on those reports, you know, what to maybe investigate further. Maybe there's a smell of like a musty smell, maybe there's mold, whatever's in those reports, go from there, and only then decide if you want to do like the roof inspection, like a mold specialist or whatever the case may be. Okay, so another thing during this time, we have our appraisal contingency, and this is where your lender is going to hire an appraiser. It's a third-party company that will come out and appraise the property, and it's just to verify that the lender is making a sound investment lending you the money for this loan. So the situation could happen where, especially when we're in a shifting market, that appraisal can come in lower than the offer price. Hold on one second, I'm gonna get my coffee. So if this appraisal comes in lower than the offer price, as long as you're within this contingency period, you didn't waive this contingency, this is why it's so important not to do. If it comes in lower than the accepted price, you have the point to renegotiate with the seller, either maybe coming down in price, maybe ask for a seller concession to offset the cost, or you come in with more money at closing to cover the difference between what the new loan amount will be, because they won't go over that what that appraised value is and the accepted offer price of the home. So those are 3 different options that you can do, or you can walk away from the transaction as well. So that's why it's so important to have that contingency and still be able to get that earnest money deposit back. So that is the appraisal part. And also keep in mind, this is depending on the appraisal. Usually it's like $350 to $500 to have that appraisal. So it is something that you have to pay upfront as the buyer, because you are the potential borrower for this loan. So it's your cost that you need to pay for, and it is not at closing. You have to do it upfront. So again, also with those home inspections and pest inspections, they are not going to wait till closing to get their payment. Okay, you got to pay them as soon as they do their services. So that is the other cost that a lot of people don't realize when they're purchasing a home. So again, as a recap, of course, you're going to have your down payment. Your earnest money deposit will be a percentage of that down payment you got to pay initially. Usually in our area, it's anywhere from 1% to 3% of the offer price. And then all the inspections that you are going to want, anywhere from like $250 to $300 per inspection. I've seen some as low as like $150. Again, it depends on the size of the home. And then your appraisal, and anywhere from $350 to $500. So I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. Have a great day, guys. Bye.